Hi, I'm Kristian Livolsi and welcome to the Hot Seat.
On the Hot Seat, we tackle the toughest business questions, addressing the most pressing issues our business community faces today. We dive into the core of business growth and strategic development. Whether you're launching a startup, managing a growing business, or refining an established enterprise, we're here to provide you insights that you need. Get ready for candid conversations and practical advice that you can implement today. Stay with us and let's grow your business together. Kristian Livolsi, welcome to the Hot Seat. It is Tuesday. We are now in September and we are 3 sleeps away from our momentum weekend here in Darling Harbour. How is your week going?
Hang on, wait. Our momentum intensive is this week.
This week,
Of course it is. Yeah, no, it's great. I'm excited. We've got everything's ready to go. Everything's been ready to go for a while now, so we're in pretty good shape. I actually think I've got all the wonderful books that people are going to be using.
That's right.
Printers returned everything, and so it's pretty exciting stuff. So I know that our clients are excited, and it's funny how quickly the quarter comes around, and I think also because we do game planning sessions every month, so it's it's pretty epic. So yeah,
it's been a fast quarter. I feel like everyone's like, wow, this has gone really quickly. And this is it, right? This is the final sprint for the end of 2024. We're on the home stretch, which is just nuts.
It's the making money stretch. It's like
it is.
So it's you get ready to then be able to get some time off with your families, and that's one of the biggest things that we work towards, is making sure that all of our clients can get 3-4 solid weeks off during the holidays to spend with their family. It's one of the goals that we set, and I think I'm going to take 3 weeks off this year, if not 4, and so that will be, I think, a total of 12 weeks of holidays for me in 1 year. It's starting to get used to it, and some of our clients are Karim's averaging those kind of holidays at the moment too. So it's something that's really cool, where we can finally allow business owners to enjoy the spoils of their work. And I think that's so important. So many people out there in business who are working, the hustle or the grind. My 2 least favorite words in the world, when people say, "Oh, I'm so proud that you're hustling," I'm like, I don't hustle, mate. I don't hustle at all. Everything's fully under control, and it's exactly how I want it to be.
Okay, well, with that being said, I'm going to lead straight into our first question of our hot seat today. And I'm going to give you 2 words, actually, that I want you to tell me the difference about. And the words that I'm choosing are resilience and grit. What's the difference? I feel like people use them interchangeably and similar as hustle and grind. What is resilience and grit? What's the difference?
All right, good question. I mean, look, resilience and grit, Simone, are actually closely related concepts. Okay, they play a crucial role in business success as well as business failure, particularly through challenging times. However, they refer to slightly different qualities that an entrepreneur or a business owner might exhibit when facing obstacles. Okay, now I'm going to explain this a little bit, but what I want to do is I want to talk about resilience from the perspective of bouncing back from setbacks, and then I'll focus on that. And the Resilience Project, by the way, is an excellent book, and so is Grit by Angela Duckworth. So 2 books that I've read more than once. But look, resilience in business refers to the ability for people to recover from difficulties. Okay, it's about bouncing back from the failures as well as the setbacks without losing momentum. That's the really important part. Without losing momentum. Now, in the face of adversity, a resilient business leader is adaptable, and they are able to absorb the stress and then rebound from it, maintaining all the operational stability they require, as well as safeguarding the well-being of their team. So resilience, Simone, is reactive. It's helping you deal with and recover from the challenges as they arise, okay? Now, if we then turn it around and say, okay, well, grit is sustained passion and perseverance. All right. As you know, I have a lot of knowledge in this space. We'll maybe talk about that another time. But grit is a term that was popularized by the psychologist Angela Duckworth, and it was popularized in her book, Grit, the power of passion and perseverance. So grit extends beyond the scope of resilience. Okay, really important. Grit is about having a steadfast determination that influences long-term stamina. Okay, so determination that influences long-term stamina. It's not just about bouncing back, but it's also about pushing forward. So hence our, fail forward philosophy. Now, it's about pushing forward despite any further obstacles or failures. Okay, and it's about working towards your long-term goal. So grit is actually characterized by persistence and tenacity. So it's proactive and it's focused on enduring the marathon, not just the sprint. So, and I think what's really important, I want to just integrate some of the insights that I learnt from Angela Duckworth, because she explains that grit is the hallmark of high achievers in every domain. Okay. She's found that grit in her research is a combination of the passion and perseverance towards long-term goals, which I explained earlier, and is a significant predictor of success. Now, in her research, Duckworth actually emphasizes, I'm just trying to remember this correctly, the role of effort, stating that effort counts twice as much as talent counts. Yeah, I'm pretty sure her quote is, effort counts twice as much as talent counts, effort counts twice. I think that's actually the quote that she specifically says in the book, which really took me. I was like, wow. And in my experience, absolutely. And if we want to illustrate an example of both resilience and grit, J.K. Rowling's, right? Like the author of Harry Potter. She was facing a number of rejections from publishers, and as well as battling personal and financial hardships. Yet Rowling's resilience kept her from falling into despair, while her grit drove her to continue working on her manuscripts, never losing sight of her passion for storytelling despite the odds. So hopefully that can put the two together. So what can anyone listening, or what do we tell our customers or our clients about this, is you've got to develop a resilient mindset, okay? So you've got to, kind of encourage flexibility as well as adaptability, right, amongst your team. So, scenario planning to better anticipate potential setbacks as well as responding effectively. That's a way. You build grit through consistency. So setting your team long-term goals, aligning them daily, right, will help you foster a culture of perseverance, but it will also encourage your team, Simone, to remain focused and passionate regardless of the difficulties, right? And this is really relevant to where we're going. I believe just now they announced that 4.4 billion has been wiped off the economy. The treasurer is telling people to brace themselves with the GDP numbers that are being released. And yet, if you speak to any of our clients in Growth School or my one-on-one clients or the boards that I sit on, none of us are worried because we've got long-term plans. We've built resilience. We've built tenacity. And the third thing that you have to do in order to do that is you've got to embrace and learn from your failures, right?
Yeah.
You've got to use those setbacks as those learning opportunities. You've got to encourage a culture where failure is seen not as a setback, but as a stepping stone to greater success, right? So, understanding and cultivating both resilience and grit within your business, right? Within the practice of business, right? You'll actually equip your company to not only survive, but thrive through the inevitable challenges of the business landscape today, tomorrow, and beyond. Spoken like a politician. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome.
Yes, I love that. Okay.
I really love, this is, again, another cracking topic that you've chosen. But obviously for me, my personal journey is all about this. And that's why I love empowering people with this knowledge. And some of it is, experience, and others is read information. So absorb.
So I'd like to tie this back into then about leadership. So how does resilience, why is that important in your leadership and what you're doing inside of your business?
Well, look, resilience is an indispensable quality in business leadership. Now, especially for business owners who have got to navigate the constant ups and downs of entrepreneurial landscapes. And I think as a serial entrepreneur, I learned this very early in my career, right? But I think I learned this even in our family business as a child, right? The learning hard work, not always knowing where the next dollar was going to come from. Even though we had stability, it was kind of like you grew up in a business environment. So you already start nurturing that. Wow, that was loud. The quality is, this quality that I'm referring to is not just about surviving, right? Like as everyone knows, I don't really worry about surviving. My grit and resilience is pre-established. It's built. I'm more concerned around how do I leverage the challenges to forge a stronger and more adaptable me and a more adaptable business. And, I was talking to an old client of mine who's a dear friend of mine now, and he's working for a very large tractor business, global tractor business. And he's like, I need you to come to Bordertown. I need you to work with my team. And I'm like, right. And he goes, resilience in farming land. I'm pretty sure you can deal with this. I'm like, holy shit. And we just had a really cool jam about what to do. But a lot of that was, he knows me well enough to know that I leverage the challenge to create a stronger business. And that's a quality you just don't see, right? Like, I mean, we coach our clients in it, and they still look at me with like, can you come and hold my hand? I'm like, sure. I'll hold your hand. I'll be empathetic. I won't be sympathetic. So why does then resilience matter in leadership, right? Less about me, more about the actual thing, right? Well, you need it for navigating uncertain time and any setbacks. And in business, you're going to have them all the time, right? Business environments are inherently unpredictable. So by building resilience and grit, guess what you do? You become more predictable and more sustainable. And that's essentially our tagline at Growth School. We help businesses become predictable and sustainable. Not predictable like making no money. We take people from good to great. It's one of our values. So we chart a path, right? A roadmap and a strategy, and then hold everybody accountable over and over and over again, building those resilience mechanisms. Now, you could call that great leadership. Sometimes I wonder if our students are my employees most of the time, running their business, but I run it vicariously with them together, right? But then at the same time, I realize I don't, because what I aim to do is not create disciples, but actually create empowered, self-responsible leaders. And the way we do it is by building resilience. And now I'm starting to know why you picked this topic. Because I said to you a couple of weeks ago, didn't I? How can people see what we actually do? Because they can't see it until they actually see it in action, right? Like our intensives are exactly that. You see this shit live, jamming, right? And this is one of the things, like, we do this, but we don't actually promote that we build resilient people, and we help you determine grit, because it's something that can absolutely be taught. I mean, I was speaking about resilience and failure at the University of Adelaide when I was an adjunct professor there, but also was doing the same keynotes in other universities. That was 6-7 years ago, right? And it's epic because why? We were talking to startup communities, right? And startup communities and established business, even elephants, right? They're all the same. We're enduring the same damn bloody setbacks. It's how resilient or persistent you're going to be, right? So one is navigating that uncertainty, Simone. The other is sustaining team morale and engagement, which is really bloody important, right? So one of the biggest things that, I think this week in my content, I'm talking a lot about emotional resilience. Because a lot of people have recently said to me, can you run a workshop on emotional resilience for our team? I'm absolutely, right? That is like one of the coolest things that I do, because I love to be able to showcase to people, this is why it's important. This is how it came about for me. And this is how it can come about to you. Everyone's emotional resilience is like its own unique radar, right? So You don't have to have gone through what I've gone through to feel the same feeling, right, of desperation, but you can achieve the same outcomes as I did, right? Which is now a position of strength and courage and vulnerability, right? So it's really important for that. And then the other one is it's really important for modeling problem-solving behaviors, right? So resilience is actually fundamental in effective problem solving, and resilient leaders are proven to demonstrate how to approach seemingly unsurmountable challenges with a solution-oriented mindset. Okay, so and that approach always encourages innovation, creativity, but it actually helps you overcome those obstacles that then help the business drive forward. And I think the other few things that, and I'll just list them off in my head, builds trust with stakeholders. If they know that you're resilient, like, you know, when you invest in a startup, you generally look for, is this their third startup the founder has had? How did they bounce back from the failures that they had in the previous ones? And generally you back them and they're generally winners, right? Because they've already had the experience. And it's why I sort of say to people, that's one of the biggest reasons why you should work with someone that has had 80 ventures, 21 failures, 41 successful exits. They're not boastful numbers, right? Boastful number is that we've helped 1,362 people achieve predictability and sustainability, right? That's a boastful number because they are the winners, not us, right? You know, like I look at my entrepreneurial business journey as my education. Combine that with academic education in my later years really has brought that together for people to win. And I think the other thing is you always got to promote a resilient company culture, right? Because that's really important. And so just to wrap that up, and I know that we've got to go because you've got to do a teach in like 9 minutes, but the Resilience Project, right, which is a book, emphasizes, the emphasis is on the personal stories and lessons that highlight the importance of resilience in maintaining a mental and emotional well-being, okay? So that's a book that I really enjoyed because it was that storytelling. And so I think it's really worthwhile. And a really good example of all of this, of resilient leadership, is Howard Schultz, you know, the founder and CEO of Starbucks. You know, he returned in 2008 during the global financial crisis when Starbucks was totally in the shits. He returns as the Messiah, right? And he was marked by strategic closures and a renewed focus on customer experience and quality product and in product quality improvements. Now, his resilient leadership helped turn around the company's fortunes, renewing its growth trajectory and strengthening the brand globally. Now, if you want to think of even a better story, Steve Jobs, fired, right, from his own company, returns as the Messiah and launches products that change the world, right? Like the first streaming situation, like iTunes, the iPhone. Like, you know, this is resilient leadership. Not only were you fired, but you went and started another software company that still became huge, right? So, so look, I think that's kind of. I'll wrap that up because otherwise I can keep talking about this all day long, and you're not going to get to our teach and execution call with our team. But I think that sort of is why resilience in leadership is so important, and that's only like the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so let's wrap up on this question then. How do you develop this resilience, this grit? How do you get there? If you're someone who hasn't already experienced this journey of adversity, of having those lessons of your own life or those close around you that you could have learnt from, like you explained with your family businesses growing up, how can you develop this skill? What are you going to do?
I remember a keynote I gave at the University of South Australia to their startup incubation. There must have been at least like 80, 90 people there. And they asked me to talk about resilience and could it be taught, right? Did you have to actually experience it? And the academics in the room were like, nah. And then when I sat down and we did a fireside chat afterwards, which went on for like 4 hours. This thing was ridiculous. It was like 11 or 12 o'clock at night. And they just said, keep going. And I was just like, yep, sure, I'll keep firing away. The academics were also in favor of the whole idea, yes. And now there's been, 7 years later, a lot of research. Resilience can be taught. Grit can be taught. You don't actually have to physically go through it, right? Or emotionally go through it. Yes, it can help or make or break you at the same time. So how do you do it? Let me give you some tips. One, you've got to establish your own support network. Again, total self-promotion here. Join one of our programs. Hang out with people that have empathy. Empathy is established from experience. Sympathy is just BS, right? Come to me with sympathy and I try to go, see you later. You're going to be a victim. I don't want to play ball with you, right? Come with empathy or come with an open mind to learning, right? So having a robust support network that includes mentors, peers in the community, professional coach, whatever it might be, is really, really important because you can bounce the ideas. But like in our program, where it's almost one-on-one, almost group, almost education, I call it almost because it's all these things. It's also masterminding. So when you're listening to other people once a quarter go through their challenges, you're able to start processing and emphasizing with them because it's kind of like you're living and breathing through it. So the other thing that you have to do, and which I had to do when I went through all of this crazy stuff like 15 years ago, is implementing stress management techniques, right? You've got to set really clear boundaries for yourself, Simone. I encourage everyone to practice mindfulness and meditation. No secret, I have a full-time guru, and Bron and I, she's my magician. She also attends our intensives, not in person, but runs the beginning of every single day to get us in the zone, right? Really important. And that's another way that we teach resilience, is teaching people these skills. Developing emotional resilience is so important. Emotional resilience, just for clarity, can be strengthened by facing as well as navigating through small stresses or failures. And it's a reflection on your past experiences to identify what strategies helped you cope. And what I want you to also do, if you're listening, is think about how these can be applied in your future challenges, right? So resilience is one thing, and then you've got emotional resilience, which is another level again, right? So the other things that I would do is always prioritize and delegate. I would maintain a positive outlook wherever I could. My favorite thing to do is reflect and adjust. So adapt and adopt, based on that. I used to write for one of Arianna Huffington's magazines, something most people don't know. I used to also write as one of their clinical writers for Entrepreneur Media. If you ever want to go read some of the best articles I have ever written, go Google Kristian Livolsi, Entrepreneur Media, and they're all on growth mindset. And they have essentially had, I think it's something like 42,000 citations. Like they blew up, and one I think even went in the press copy. But Arianna Huffington comes to mind immediately because she's the co-founder of the Huffington Post, and she faced intensive. This is public information, and I love this story. It's why I ended up writing for her mag. She faced intensive burnout early in her career, which led her to reevaluate, Simone, her approach to work and life. And when I was going through my shit, this is where I learned this. And I was like, wow. So she has since then become one of the largest advocates for prioritizing well-being and has implemented numerous wellness initiatives in her business ventures. But also, even with us writers, she was encouraging this, right? So, her journey underscores the importance of developing healthy coping mechanisms that sustain both your personal and professional well-being, all right? And
absolutely. She's got a killer podcast interview with Stephen Bartlett from the Diary of a CEO that was just recently released. And I hadn't heard much of her story before then. And wow, that is a very, very cool story and a testament that people can do business at any age, right? I think she said she's 74 and just into her new a new phase of business now. So if that's not resilience, then I don't know what is.
I mean, that's also courage and vulnerability. But I think ultimately some of the steps that you can take, or some of the steps she's taken and I've taken, is you got to incorporate regular check-ins, right? You got to engage with professional development. You got to create your own personalized toolkit. By building and maintaining any effective coping mechanism, you'll actually equip yourself to manage the stresses of business leadership. But what you'll actually do is ensure that you remain effective, motivated, and healthy, right? Okay, so it's really interesting. They're really interesting things, you know, and it's all up here. A lot of it is in your mind, and you've got to build those mechanisms. So look, I know you've got to go. I think that was epic. That was a wonderful conversation. Sorry, everyone, you might have to dial down the speed to 0.6. I was going really fast because I wanted to cram in as much as I could give you. But yeah, pump for Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and it's gonna be
Let's turn up the heat. Let's have some sunshine and some awesome time with our clients. So Kristian Livolsi, thank you for your time and your insights as always. This has been The Hot Seat. We'll be back next Tuesday, and I'll see you in Sydney in 2 days.
The mirror. I always do that. See you guys.
Thank you for joining us on The Hot Seat. We hope today's session gave you valuable insights to drive your business forward.
Remember, every challenge is an opportunity for growth.
Every question brings us closer to the answers that can transform our businesses. Stay connected with us, follow our journey, share your thoughts, and be a part of our community.
And don't forget to subscribe, like, and hit the notification bell so that you never miss future episodes. Together, let's elevate your business to new heights.
Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time on The Hot Seat.